Well, welcome to the Business Spotlight series. My name is Heather Frierson, and I'm your host of the Business Spotlight podcast. And today I have Lynn Fischer, founder of KMAK Capital. And today she's going to be sharing about her business journey, her best practices, challenges, and really just share a sneak peek of what it's like to own and operate a business. So, if this is your first time on the channel, be sure to like and subscribe so that you can get a notification every time a new show drops, just like this one. Well, Lynn, welcome to the show. I'm so glad you're here.
You, Heather. I appreciate you asking me to come on.
Well, how about you just take a few minutes to share with our listeners a little bit about your background and about KMAC and what you do?
Okay, well, thank you again. It's my pleasure. I always to help entrepreneurs and people who are thinking of starting a business, everything that I've learned along the journey. I first started in the corporate world. I was fortunate enough after business school to work for some of the greatest marketing companies, I think, in the world, Gallo family wines, um, and then Dreyer's and Edie's Grand Ice Cream. And then became the general manager of the Dryers and Edie's ice cream and M&M Mars joint venture. So I was
Wow.
the marketer who put the M&Ms in ice cream and Snickers in ice cream. So launched that and then got back into the wine business and was vice president of marketing for the wine group, which is the third largest private winery. So developed a lot of brands, repositioned Concannon, a great America's first petite Syrah. And I share this journey because I'm the most unlikely person to have run and founded a health sciences technology company. So I was asked to join my partner to help out Title 21 Health Solutions. And it's a healthcare technology company that it actually helps large healthcare providers as well as labs everywhere in biotech and in the health sciences prove their quality and compliance. And back in 2008, we took on the whole world of cell and gene therapy and helping digitize all the labs and the processes to help develop immunotherapies for cancer patients and all sorts of different diseases, but mainly in cancer. So about 2.5 years ago, after 21 years of being bootstrapped, we decided to get a private equity to invest in business. So we did that and we sold majority share. We still own a sizable minority share of the Title 21. And so we decided after stepping down, I was CEO of Title 21 for many years, and we decided to start a capital company. And the reason we decided to start a capital company was because we saw, and I talked to a lot of founders who basically they they had great ideas, they had great businesses, but unfortunately they didn't have the capital or maybe the know-how to launch business. So we started KMAK Capital, and KMAK stands for Kent, Matthew, Allison, Grimley, our three children. And it's the reason for that is because it's really the future of health sciences and biotech. We also do some real estate. So basically everything you need to live a better life.
Wow, that is quite the resume and journey. And I don't know if I would have been even eager to leave the ice cream or the wine. I mean, what an amazing way to start your career. And I'm just so impressed and love what you're doing. So, and I can understand after you said being bootstrapped for 21 years that it would be so important to you to help others through KMAC. So, can we dive a little bit more into that? And you mentioned a little bit about who you specifically help about KMAC. Can you talk a little bit more about that?
So we do a lot of investment in people that aren't usually on the cap table. So we like women-owned businesses, minority-owned businesses, or even some businesses where, let's say, the scientist or the researcher is more of an introvert, isn't one to do podcasts or anything. So, but has incredible science and incredible potential for cures of whether it's rare disease, cancers, solid tumor cancers, bloodborne cancers, could be diabetes, and it's a connection to the rest of the world. So we've done a lot of investment in those type of companies, specifically in glioblastoma, in technology that also basically diagnoses and treats kidney stones without having to go through general anesthetics and without having to go into the hospital. So that it's a great company in the Bay Area, invested in that. So and also some real estate investment as well, to help with more choices for housing, both industrial, senior living, affordable housing. And when I say affordable, they're still very nice. Affordable housing for people who are just starting their careers. So we really, really focus on areas that we can have greatest impact. And that's been one of the most rewarding things in my career and my family's journey, is having impact, a positive impact on people, and really, making a difference in their lives so that they have the same opportunities of a great education, good health care, and the living the American dream like we have been so blessed to enjoy our life.
Yeah. That is so amazing. How did you make that transition, or why was it important to you? Maybe it's a better question, from wine and ice cream to 21. I'm sorry, I forgot the name, 21, Title 21 Health. And now you're in the health sector, even if it's investment. What was that transition like, and why?
Yeah, great question, Heather. Well, it went back to when I was 15 years old, when I learned through my older brother that my dad had cancer, melanoma. And it was really bad. It was already in his lymph nodes. And this was many years ago. And typically at that time, when you got a diagnosis of melanoma, it was a death sentence. So fast forward, I worked hard. My dad has survived. We just celebrated his 88th birthday at the Duquesne Club in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, which he proudly is a member of for 49 years. But what it put in my heart as I worked through my career was impact. And while I was in the consumer packaged goods world in wine, I always had a very philanthropic side. So I was very involved in the Livermore Wine Growers Foundation, where we helped a lot of children's charities in the Bay Area. And philanthropy, I believe, is a way of life. When I was a little girl, I put on the muscular dystrophy carnivals in my backyard. And so I really believe that no matter what age you are, no matter where you are in your life, you can have a positive impact by just offering your talents and your thoughts and ideas and really pulling people together. So, long story short, I never realized how much that affected me when I was 15 years old, and how fortunate I found to have my dad throughout my life, who's been a great mentor in business for me. So it was natural. And so I had a passion for it. And I always had a passion to advocate for patients. When I was very young, I was in the children's hospital, and I got really good treatment. And I've just, as a family, we've always really wanted to do something for children, especially. because knowing how scary it is to be in the hospital or to get, not to understand like exactly what is going on, that's tough. So
Yeah.
we decided, I decided that I wanted to help out. And it was a fateful day. I was having a discussion with my husband saying, when in the world are you going to like really launch this software? Because I had entrepreneurial aspirations. Of
Mm-hmm.
course, I thought I would end up in wine or consumer packaged goods. And he said, well, I actually need your help as a marketer and a strategist. I said,
Mm-hmm.
well, I faint at the sight of blood. I don't like hospitals. And he said, you're perfect. And so I said, well, I'll give you 1 year. And I'm going to tell you what I really think as a businesswoman. And just so you know, my personal bias is to tell you, go get a real job. And yeah, and I really, because I was always entrepreneurial. And so it was really quite fun that we got to spend a year. And
Mm-hmm.
he wanted to bring me in at that time to be the CEO. And I said, no, I've got to earn my way. So I came in as VP of sales and marketing, and
Wow.
I learned. And I was so fortunate that I learned from some of the best,
Yeah.
Memorial Sloan Kettering and Stanford, and they were so patient and taught me. I had to just focus on in the labs where they're processing stem cells, not to faint. So that was my biggest hurdle.
I feel you
Yeah,
there.
yeah. So anyway, so it was a great experience. And a year later, I it was the October timeframe. And I said, Kent, you were really wrong about Title 21. I
Mm.
said, this business is not just a viable, small business. This business
Mm.
can have a huge impact on the world and for, healthcare to improve quality and safety and
Mm.
compliance and to innovate and help the wonderful PhDs and clinicians, medical directors, the physicians, the patient's family who are
Mm.
searching for these therapies. And I said, it's way bigger than you ever imagined. And
Wow.
history will show that I was onto something and I
Yeah.
really believed in what he was doing. So he's the engineer. We met in business school at Pitt.
Oh,
And
I love that.
yeah. So it's been quite a journey.
I love that when I hear stories of how couples become business partners and how it can be so successful when you really do bring your both side of gifts and talents together to make something special. It's a journey in itself. And I also just part of your story, what inspired me that happens a lot is something that happened to you years ago as a child with your dad came back around and was not planned.
Exactly. Yeah,
Oh,
you're exactly right, Heather. And the irony of it all is the first really large healthcare institution, cancer treatment center that we did business with was Memorial Sloan Kettering in New York City, one of the oldest and best cancer treatment centers in the world.
mm,
And ironically, that's who saved my dad's life.
mm,
And all through the selling process, I never said anything until the
mm,
first on-site meeting. Once we got the contract, we won the contract, and and we were going around giving background and introductions. And I told the team there, I said, there's nothing too small or too great to ask of me as your partner, as your friend
mm,
in trying to advance your program and serve more patients. And then I shared with them because it's this institution, people just like you who came before you, who allowed me to have a lifetime of memories with my father. And
Mm.
talk about, you can't make that up.
No.
You know, I started as a writer. I couldn't even write that story. I
Mm.
couldn't even make it up. But that's the elegance to life. And, that's what I
Yeah.
always mentor younger kids, especially young adults who are trying to figure out what they want to do. And just like, it's all, you
Mm.
don't have to decide one thing. Just
Mm-hmm.
all these experiences will make sense later in your
Yeah.
life, you know?
It's so true. And I would say it's ironic. I would say it's destiny for sure.
Yeah.
What, just curious, a little side trail here. What has your dad said about that?
Oh my goodness. He, for many years, honestly, he was concerned that I was in the corporate world because he was very successful at Alcoa, spent his entire career there. And he was quite frankly a little worried because we have 3 kids, and I was like super pregnant, like right before my due date, and I was still going into the office, shooting campaigns to launch a new wine. And he would worry and he would say, "Are you sure? What are you doing?" And because I was the original funder of Title 21. And he said, "Are you sure Kent knows what his plan? Shouldn't he go back to the corporate world?" And I said, "No, no, no, no. This is his dream, and I want to support this, and then I'll have a
Mhm.
turn." And then I was quite shocked, Heather, when I called him to tell him that I was stepping down from my role as vice president of the wine group, which was a really, really amazing company and amazing job. He shocked me and he said, "Lynn, I think this is a great idea." I'm like, "Really?" I said, you were worried about us, like,
Yeah.
so overly investing. Now I'm walking away from a really good corporate job, but I really believe it. He said, "No, I think it's a great." So that gave me a lot of a lot of, like, at
Hmm.
least peace in my heart.
Right.
And then obviously when we announced that we were we attracted a very great private equity firm, and I ran the process. I
Hmm.
negotiated everything. We didn't have an investment banker because
Mm.
I lived it, and
Hmm.
Ken lived it. So it's better for us to tell our own story to
Yeah.
a potential investor. And there was some strategics that came after us as well, and we just decided that this was the right, path for us, and really so we could have even greater impact in the health sciences world
Hmm.
versus just with Title 21, not to
Yeah.
minimize at all what the potential
Sure.
there is, but we had a lot more that we wanted to give to the world in terms of um, believing in the founders. And in fact, I was just on a panel at the University of Pittsburgh last week
Wow.
talking about patient centricity
Mm.
and how important it is to really keep the patient as the heart of the matter. At Title
Mm.
21, we would say the patient is the true north. And that is something that I really made sure was first and foremost. All decisions had to be in the best interest of the patient, number
Hmm.
one. And everything else comes after that.
Hmm.
And when you do that, then it's obviously in the best interest of your customers and the best interest of the market and the best interest of humanity. And that's really what we continue to do at
Hmm.
KMAK Capital, where we're investing, sorry, I get choked up there, in founders who have that big dream, who are brilliant
Mm.
scientists, who are brilliant entrepreneurs, but
Mm.
maybe just didn't didn't have people around them to say, "Hey, listen, no, the market says you're crazy, but you're
Mm.
not. You're not. And the patients and the patient families will rally around you. And so
Mhm.
will the capital markets, the family offices, the foundations. The there's a shift in the capital
Mhm.
markets these days. Um, everybody's a little weary about some of the institutional investments, and so it's a great opportunity for everyone in the market.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, I hear your heart so much behind this, from your story and what you see for the people that you're helping in KMAC. And I love how it's family entwined, from partnering with your husband, naming it after your children. It's such a beautiful story of legacy, is what I'm hearing. Even from the start at 15 till now, you've built a legacy that's pouring back into others. So, with that being said, what do you see for KMAC in the future, in the long run, in helping these entrepreneurs? Because you could have just sat back at it after you sold. I know you still have a minority interest, but you probably could have sat back a little bit.
oh yeah,
Oh, yeah.
I tried that. It didn't last long. Uh, you know, Heather, you're wired the same way. That's why you do this amazing podcast.
Mhm.
When you have something in your heart, you just that's that's where you get the fulfillment, the sense of
Mhm.
achievement. And again, my greatest achievements are giving that opportunity to someone
Mm.
else, not to me. I'm
Mhm.
just I'm just the steward of it. It's just passing through me.
Mm.
And if I can help inspire somebody who's having a rough day, or whose pitch deck just got obliterated by some VC
Mm.
or some investment banker on Wall Street, I hope they listen and say, you know what? She gave me a little bit of hope to keep going.
Mm.
And at the end of the day, that's what it's about.
Mhm.
It's never been about me.
Yeah.
It's never been about me, and nor will it ever be. That's just, I
Yeah.
I don't want it to be about me. Um, so we also started KMAK Charitable Foundation. It's a family foundation, but really, what my vision is for the future is, first off, um, our three children are amazing in their dedication to making a difference. That's probably my greatest contribution to society, uh,
Mm.
more than anything, uh, and my husband's, because we've shown them, not just
Mhm.
told them, but more importantly, shown them how to give throughout your life, how to
Mm.
make a difference to people, how to take care of an employee when you know n- no one no one would say you had to. And it's doing making those choices in life and in your professional career as well as your personal career, just to do right by people
Yeah.
and always be on the right side of right. And when people don't expect you to help them or offer your 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 counsel, your treasure, your advice, your support, just your
Yeah.
support, that's when you really define who you are. And I've always said
Mm.
in my career, competence, there are a lot of competent people in the world. There are a lot of very competent people. Competence plus great character is something that stands above the rest. And
Mm.
as I as I say, sometimes you lose a few battles to maybe those who are more political or have more razor sharp elbows. But in
Mhm.
the end, you rise above and you win for humanity. And I just think, um, that's important. And the
Yeah.
other thing that I've specifically stayed in the game for, you know, even with my three darling little babies when they were so cute, and I said, I have to keep going. Um, it's because I wanted to, I guess, prove to the world. I
Mm,
did have something to prove that you can be very competent in what you do. You
mm,
can rise to the highest levels in the corporate world and have a successful outcome as an entrepreneur and be kind to people the
mm.
entire time.
I love that. Isn't that true though? More people need to know that you can be successful and also it's not an either or.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly, Heather.
I
Yeah.
love that. What does your team look like when you building something like this? How do you even get started with bringing people in?
Well, first of all, I do an inventory of what my strengths are, and I do
Mm.
an inventory of what my weaknesses are. And and being very mindful of where you need help. And I
Hmm.
bring in those who are very different in how they think and very different. I tend to work very well with engineers because I, I'm fascinated by their
Mm.
minds because mine doesn't work that logically. Um, and also computer scientists or my daughter's studying astrophysics,
Wow.
and so I'm always fascinated and I want to learn from them. So I
Hmm.
build teams where the experiences, the way the mind works is extremely different. But there's one area that we have to be alike, and that is our values and be
Mm.
like-hearted. So I actually think it's less important to be like-minded. In fact, I would prefer diversity in perspectives and mindsets, other than a
Hmm.
winning mindset and a good, healthy mindset, but really getting a group of people together who are like-hearted. And it's pretty amazing if you just ask some simple questions
Mm.
like, tell me about your childhood. Tell me about, you know, your parents. Tell me about
Hmm.
and it's amazing to be able to see how they reflect on
Mm.
the good things and the struggles and what they do with that.
Mm.
My daughter, when we were going through a tough time, because the transition from being a CEO and running a company, and
Mm.
even though it was a very successful outcome, that transition is very, very
Mm.
challenging because, you know, even though you don't want your identity to be caught up in that, you know,
Yeah, it
it's
happens a
kind
little
of
bit.
natural. It happens a little bit because that's how the market views you and everything, and that's how, you know, our kids were part of it since they were babies. But my daughter, who's a very very wise woman, she's only 22, but she has the wisdom of a 102-year-old. She said, she said, "Mom, you first have to be a victim to become a victor."
Wow. Wow. Wise words. I love that statement. And the fact that you don't say the victim.
Yeah, that's the key. Never stay a victim because really the only person it hurts is yourself. Just
Yeah.
like forgiveness. If you don't forgive someone, the only person it hurts is yourself.
Yes, exactly.
So let it go, forgive it. And the one piece of advice for entrepreneurs, whether you're a CEO of
Mm.
your company or you just got a big VC invest, process the emotions of life of
Hmm.
of what you experience with your trusted allies.
Mm.
Like a group of close girlfriends, or a male ally, or a mentor in your career, or a former boss who knows you,
Yeah.
Heather, like knows how you think and what you feel, knows your
Mm-hmm.
heart. Um, Process all those emotions that way. And then when you go into some of these meetings with highly analytical people who are just about the numbers in the spreadsheets, you'll be able to communicate in a way that they will better understand
Mm.
what you're saying. So that's a piece of advice that I've learned,
Yeah.
maybe sometimes the hard way. But it's but it's also, I also want to point out, honor those emotions, because that's your superpower. Male,
Mm.
female, doesn't matter. That's your superpower.
Yeah.
It's with the emotion that will drive you for the change. It's the
Yeah.
fuel. So I have a saying in life: enough things go wrong, you end up with the right answer. So even when really kind of disappointing things happen, you get laid off from a job,
Mhm.
you get you get pushed out from a particular company, you get maybe a tough medical, you know,
Yeah.
lab result. Know that it's a time and place.
Mm.
It's a time and place. It's a dot. Keep
Yes. I
moving
love
through
that.
it. Keep moving through it. Keep keeping your sight on the positive, in envisioning your ability to prevail and to
Mm-hmm.
be the victor. Don't, yes, you got to process the emotions, but that that negativity will drive you.
Yeah.
So what I became very good at when I was very young is I was very shy, very introverted,
Mm.
very quiet, a very slow talker. Um, and I learned to observe a lot. I
Mm.
learned to observe patterns of behavior. But what I also learned to do is take anything that was negative in my life, mean words from mean people,
Mm.
and convert that into something positive in my
Mm-hmm.
life. And some of it is my little bit of that fighter instinct. Well, I'll
Mm-hmm.
show you. So,
Yeah.
all the bullies in high school, for all those who marginalized me in my career, for all the people who said, "Oh no, she'll never do anything."
Mm-hmm. You
She
showed him. You showed him. Yeah. I was about to say, from being an introvert and quiet, and now you're the face and probably the one that does all the podcasts, not just this one that really promotes. I mean, what a journey this whole experience has been for you.
Yes,
Yeah.
and that's just a result. What you see today is a result of Lynn getting out of her comfort zone, little by little by little
Mm,
by little, and having the guts to go into the
yeah.
cell therapy labs at some of these institutions and not faint, and
Yeah.
getting over those
Yeah.
fears, you know, and
Yeah.
really realizing that you should be there. No
Yeah.
different, like you should be doing this podcast, and
Right.
and making each person feel valued for who they
Mm-hmm.
are. And everybody has a, a little piece of the puzzle that we all need to hear.
Yeah.
So don't underestimate the person in front of you. Get to
That's
know
so
their
true.
story.
Yeah.
And that's what I love about your podcast, Heather. I mean,
Oh,
you get to know people
yeah.
on a very genuine level.
Mhm. Isn't that what life's about, though? Is like you talk about the
Yes,
little pieces and really just getting to know who's in front of you. Yeah, I love that so much.
exactly.
I could do so many podcasts with you because I can tell that you just have so much wisdom, um, and not just what you do, but just life itself. And so I just appreciate you sharing so much. I wish we didn't have to wrap up, but I don't want to go until we get to our rapid fire questions because those are always great little nuggets at the end that I want to make sure I pull out. So, okay. All right. Are you ready?
Yes.
Okay. What would you say is the key to success for you?
Ability to envision. Just my high school commencement speech, William Arthur
Mm,
Ward. If you can imagine it, you can become it. If you can dream it, actually, if you can dream
mm,
it, you can become it. If you can imagine it, you can achieve it. Your imagination, your
mm,
imagination and your curiosity will drive you to greatness. And play make believe. And when somebody
mhm,
says you can't, just say, la, 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 don't listen and keep
mm.
going and let that fuel your desire to just go do it.
Yeah. I love that. I think so many listeners need to hear that today. The imagination and curiosity will drive you to greatness. I miss what you said though, ability to something. And I want to make sure I write it down. Do you remember?
Um, oh, your ability to envision, your ability
Envision.
to envision. Yeah, envisioning. And I'm neurodiverse, I'm a dyslexic, and I do
Mm,
everything backwards. And it's been such a gift for me
mm,
because I can see it. I can see
yeah.
it. So it's as clear as day to me. And it's just bringing the current state and that envision state closer together.
Hmm. And that's a testament to a lot of people listening that you've been vice president, CEO, founder, and still and got through those hurdles. That's amazing. Yeah.
Yeah.
What would you
Yeah.
say is a key to success, or what would you say is one piece of advice, maybe, that you would give to other business owners?
Keep writing your story. Don't let anyone write your story. Turn the
Mm,
page. You have a bad day. Go do something with those you love. Surround
mm,
yourself with those you love because being an entrepreneur, I have the greatest, greatest, greatest respect for entrepreneurs. That's who makes the United States of America so great. It's all
yeah.
entrepreneurs out there. Don't let anyone else write your story. Rise above it, turn the page, and you keep writing. And all those disappointments will, at the end of the day, when you have a nice transaction or your huge business, it will be all those challenges,
Mm-hmm.
all those troubles that you kept going that will give you the greatest joy and greatest sense of achievement. Not
Yeah.
the easy days. It's always the hard days that
Yes.
we show you. Gary Rogers at Dreyer's, the the late Gary Rogers was a great leader at Dreyer's, and he said, "You know, we do what's hard. That's where everybody else gives up. We do hard." And it was always great advice. It's like, who else
Yeah.
is going to do this? That's why
Yeah.
Title 21 became so successful because it's like,
Mm,
who does all this? Who
mm,
does all this for their customers and for the patients?
yeah. Right.
But we do.
That's right.
That's why we're
That's
ahead of
what'll
the
make or
rest.
break. That's what will make or break you. Yeah, it's good.
Exactly. Exactly.
Okay, book or podcast. What are you reading or listening to right now?
Well, I really love the Mentors radio show. It's a variety of incredible business leaders, but there's a common theme of the character and integrity in everyone. And also the, almost near death experiences where
Mm.
they thought their career was over or
Oh
they
yeah.
something happened. So the Mentors radio show is a I get a lot of joy and a lot of good
Yeah,
counsel from Tom Laurie is a great host on the Mentors. So that's
that's a good
one.
one.
Oh, I read so many books, but I'm reading More Than Money right now. But that's kind of it's actually a really, really good book, More Than Money. And another one that I highly recommend, especially, well, for all entrepreneurs, because all entrepreneurs need this, and that is
Mm-hmm.
Range. Range, the book Range,
Mm.
Range.
Mm-hmm.
And range talks about how all these life experiences, all the different things you've studied, all that curiosity, be a voracious learner in life
Mm-hmm.
and
I
never
love
stop
that.
learning. Because as you go through your career and as you go through life, you will find out that all these different skills that you developed
Mm-hmm.
are exactly what has prepared you for that moment in
Yeah.
time. And it will be relevant later. I mean, I used to not, when I first got in to Title 21 in the health sciences, I first did not talk about that I came from wine and consumer packaged goods because I would have been like, what are you? And now, as I've gotten more comfortable, probably the last 5 years talking about it, maybe 6 years, um, it's so relevant because I always viewed
Yeah.
the patient as the consumer. An empowered patient is
Mm.
empowered consumer of the medicine or the services. So now it seems very relevant. But those were messages that I put out
Mm-hmm.
there early on just from my different perspective.
Yeah.
I think too, if you have a business or if you run a large corporation, invite people in at the
Mm.
table that think differently. They come from
Mm-hmm.
different parts of the world that have different experiences, different socioeconomic backgrounds, different
Yeah.
religious backgrounds, different political backgrounds.
Yeah.
It makes life so much more interesting.
Does
And
for sure.
guess what? You'll learn a few new things.
Yeah, exactly. I love that idea of invite people to the table. I think that's good. Okay. This is a fun question and one of my favorite. If you had a little bit of magic dust and could sprinkle it on one spot of your business, where would you sprinkle it?
I would sprinkle it on helping founders and getting the word out to founders
Mm,
of when when people coach you to do X, Y, and Z and only do X, Y, and Z, sometimes the right answer for the founder is
mm,
counterintuitive. And and the rest of the world could be telling them X. And I would say, no, I'd go with Y.
mm.
And, that's for a later time. I've walked away from negotiations. I've got up from the table if I felt people were
Mm,
being disrespectful. Because if they were going to be disrespectful to the CEO or the
yeah,
founder, how were they going to treat our employees and our
yeah,
team?
that's so
So,
good.
so I would, I the fairy dust would be on getting more of the word out to founders and empowering more founders to do it their way. Because at the end of the day, um, it's their business, and
Yep.
they need to empower themselves first and
Hmm.
foremost
Yeah, it's
and
good.
be a victor in it and keep that victor mindset. And if you feel like a victim one day, you just turn the page and keep writing your story.
Yeah, that's it. I love that so much. I love that. All right, before we get to the last question of the day, share with everybody how they can follow you or even get in touch with you.
Well, I'm at Lynn at kmakcapital.com, Lynn, KMAK, KMAK, capital, capital.com. And you can also send me an invite or follow me on LinkedIn, Lynn Fischer, Fischer, KMAK on LinkedIn. And thank you so much for listening. And thank you, Heather, for such a lovely conversation. I feel like I've known
Of
you
course.
forever.
I
It's really
know.
nice.
We're new best friends now. I really love that.
Yes.
All right, to
Yes.
close out the show for our listeners, what is most inspiring you today?
Most inspiring me are the patients, the little kids at Phoenix Children's Hospital, the little
Mm,
kids all over the world who are fighting for their life, who are
mm,
battling a rare disease or a cancer.
yeah.
And they're fighting. they're fighting the good fight
Yeah.
and they're staying hopeful. And all the caregivers around them and their families who are staying brave. My heart just goes out to them every day,
Mm,
and I never forget
mm,
um, how brave they have to be. And so I think about like if they can be brave as little kids, fighting these awful diseases that we need to find cures for, then I surely can do things out of
yeah.
my comfort zone and be brave, just like those little soldiers.
Mm. I love that. I love your heart and I love what you're doing. And I'm so glad we got to feature you on our show because it's really, really important. This was great. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Heather. I really appreciate you and appreciate everybody that supports your amazing show.
Thank you. Well, I just want to remind everyone that's listening to maybe just save this show and come back because Lynn really did have some not only great nuggets of wisdom for business, but life lessons. And so, also don't forget to like and subscribe so that you get a notification every time a new show drops, just like this one. A special thanks to our audience for joining us today, but a real big thanks to you, Lynn. I really appreciate and loved meeting you.
Thank you, Heather. It's been great talking with you. Thank you.
Well, until next time, thanks for listening. Bye.